This module on the holistic approach is really about two contrasting ways of thinking that should be complementary. The first one is the dominant way of thinking in the Western society. It's what we call reductionist or mechanistic thinking. The terms Cartesian, cause to effect, and linear thinking are also often used to refer to this way of thinking. With a reductionist approach, we solve problems through analysis, meaning that to understand something, we divide it into parts. This way of thinking assumes that if we can understand how the parts work, we can understand the whole. This applies in some cases, but not for complex systems. The second way of thinking is holistic thinking, which includes systems thinking. The holistic approach considers the whole, not only matter, but also the relationships between the components of a system and patterns. Systems thinking is based on synthesis. Humanity is currently facing many ecological and societal challenges, many of which seem insurmountable. Climate change is one of them. These problems are what we call wicked problems, which means that they occur in complex, non-linear systems and that they depend on many interconnected parameters. However, most of the time, honest attempts to solve these problems have led to disappointing results because these attempts were based on a linear cause-to-effect way of thinking. The video Systems Thinking, a cautionary tale about cats in Borneo, shows a real-life example of applying linear thinking to a wicked problem. It illustrates the limitation of linear thinking. You will see as we go along that we could gain a lot from using both linear and holistic thinking. Holistic thinking is not new. It was the way of thinking of many ancient civilizations and still is for some indigenous peoples. Even in the Western civilization, the dominant way of thinking has shifted between holistic and reductionist thinking over and over, and to various degrees over the course of history, depending on philosophical currents and on scientific discoveries. For example, after the invention of the microscope, cells were discovered, and the focus was put more on the isolated cells than on the relationships between them. Other events, for example, the advent of organic biology or of ecology, encouraged the development of systems thinking to explain the interconnections between the various components of an organism or the various members of an ecosystem. Nevertheless, the scientific revolution in the 16th and 17th centuries with Copernicus, Galileo, Newton, and Descartes had such a strong influence of the way of thinking in the Western world that a mechanistic worldview is still what drives a large part of Western society and of its main institutions. I suggest at this point that you read chapters 1 and 2 of the Holistic Science essay. I will now go briefly over some of the principles of living systems. When a complex system follows such principles, it thrives. Systems occur at various interrelated scales. In nature, living systems are nested within other living systems. A good example is the human body, composed of cells, which make up tissues, then organs, then functional systems, and then the body. The well-being of each level is important to the well-being of the whole. and vice versa. There is an optimal balance between each level. Nature optimizes the whole. It does not maximize just a few parameters. Every living system is an open system that requires a continuous flow of energy and matter to survive. Hence, no living system can survive on its own because it depends on exchanges of matter with other living systems. Animals depend on plants for food. Plants depend on CO2 produced by animals. Similarly, humans need food. We also use energy, matter, and information and transform them into objects or actions that impact other systems that we are related to. In nature, the flows of matter reach all levels. They're not concentrated just in the highest levels. Furthermore, the exchanges are mainly collaborative. Janine Benyus, biologist and founder of the Biomimicry Institute, says that collaboration is nature's survival mechanism and that life is a team sport. You will be able to read about systems thinking and the principles of living systems in Chapter 3 of the Holistic Science essay. When you read about the principles of living systems, try to find examples in nature and in other systems such as businesses, schools, family, or anything. Another recommended reading is the article Nature's Living Intelligence by David Fiedler. The principles of living systems show us that we're part of a larger system. The system that we have created to organize our human society, economy, law, our production system, etc., are all automatically part of that larger system and should logically follow its principles. The state of our planet shows us, however, that we must adjust some of our human-made systems. But how do we change huge complex systems? Donella Meadows, who was a world-renowned systems thinker, identified leverage points to change a system. In other words, area in a complex system where a small shift in one thing can produce a big change in everything. One of the important leverage points to create change in a system is to change the way of thinking on which the goals and the rules of the systems were built. In other words, by creating a small shift in our way of thinking, and hence in our worldview, we can create significant changes in our human-made systems. A shift in the way of thinking is what made John Fullerton, previously managing director at JP Morgan, a big financial firm, start promoting regenerative economy. It made Dame Ellen MacArthur create a foundation that promotes circular economy worldwide. It also led biologist Janine Benyus in founding the Biomimicry Institute to encourage nature-inspired design. All of the above are regenerative practices based on living systems principles. I will talk briefly about each, as well as about regenerative agriculture, just to give a sample of real-life examples of the holistic approach and of its benefit. Regenerative economy. Economy and finance are two complex man-made systems that have a huge impact on our societies. Economy comes from the Greek oiko, or household, and nomia, or management. In other words, it means to manage the household, the earth. A regenerative economy could help do just that through economic exchanges which are in right relationship meaning that they're made through mutually beneficial relationships with all stakeholders, including nature. A regenerative economy also seeks balance. It does not maximize a single parameter, but it optimizes all parameters for the well-being of all. Furthermore, no system dominates other systems. In a regenerative economy, money, resources, information, goods, and services must circulate through all levels and not be concentrated just at the highest levels. Finally, in a regenerative economy, wealth is viewed holistically. Wealth is not defined as being just an accumulation of money or possessions. Social activities, nature, experiences, intellect, and spirituality also contribute to wealth. Real-life applications of a regenerative economy include cooperatives, micro-enterprises, microfinance, and impact investing, to name a few. Recommended readings on this topic are Regenerative Capitalism by John Fullerton and Humans and Nature, The Right Relationship by Peter G. Brown and Jeffrey Garver. Circular economy. We currently have what we call a linear production system, where we extract, transform, use, and throw away a product. Each stage of this linear production system consumes energy, resources, it creates pollution, and it damages nature. In contrast, the circular economy aims to convert our linear production system into a circular one that imitates the cycles of nature. The main principle is waste equals food, or what is waste for someone is a resource for someone else. In a circular economy, products are designed to last and to be easily maintained. They can be refurbished or modified, and their components or materials can be reused or recycled to make other products. The structure needed to implement circular economy follows the principles of living systems, with networks of suppliers, flows of materials, diversity to ensure redundancy, and material loops of various scales. According to a UN study, by accelerating the adoption of circular economy to just 4 industries, steel, plastics, aluminum, and cement, could considerably reduce greenhouse gas emissions. 2 short videos from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation will teach you more about circular economy. Biomimicry. Biomimicry is design inspired by nature. The TED Talk by Janine Benyus will give you a good overview of its benefits. The document Nature's Unifying Patterns will teach you about the 10 principles on which biomimicry is based. They are essentially the principles of living systems adapted to design. And finally, regenerative agriculture. Industrial agriculture allows us to feed large populations, but it's not sustainable. It reduces the soil's fertility. It also contributes to pollution and to climate change. Regenerative agriculture reverses the trend by reproducing what works well in nature. You will have an overview of the concept of regenerative agriculture in the 2 recommended readings. Thank you.